Hey everyone, in this episode we are going to play with API Gateway and AWS Lambda. We already have published or created our Lambda. Our Lambda is expecting an input of this format. This is the input. How do we map um, from our API Gateway? If our API Gateway is a GET request, how can we um, invoke this function and have a default, maybe something like a XXX or hello world default here. Okay, so let's ask Gemini and ChatGPT. Let's ask first Gemini. Can if I am seeing if my lambda function is expecting um, input like like expecting an input string, for example, hello world, how can I invoke this using API gateway where the method is a GET request and it does not does not have any parameter parameter input. Okay, so let's ask Gemini and then let's also ask ChatGPT. What's this? API gateway. What's this? Mhm, mhm. Okay, so it says to map the template to this one here, but I think I already did that and it did not succeed. So let's see here. API gateway, your query string. Okay, so here's a breakdown of the situation and solution to help you invoke your Lambda function. Challenges: GET requests. Traditionally, GET requests are sure to fetch data and don't include a request body where you usually put input data. A Lambda function expectation. Your Lambda function is designed to process an input string which creates a mismatch with how GET requests usually work. Yep, that's correct. You're so smart. Okay, here are a few ways to address this, each with its consideration. Modify Lambda function. Recommended, if possible, adapt your Lambda function to either retrieve data from elsewhere, retrieve the required data from sources like a database, environment variables, or an external service instead of relying on input in the request itself. Use a default value if a constant input is acceptable. Have your function use hello world or a similar value by default when no data is provided. Use query string parameters. Modify your Lambda function to accept input from query string parameters within the URL like this. How to configure Lambda. Set up a query string parameter mapping within your API gateway. Adjust your Lambda code to read input string. Can our Lambda function read that? Go to our function. Our function just looks like this. It is expecting a string. Important note. But here, in your Lambda function, if your Lambda function expects a string input like hello world and you want to invoke it through API gateway with a GET request that doesn't have any query parameters, you can use the integration request to set a static payload. Here's a step-by-step guide. Configure integration request in the AWS Management Console. Go to your API Gateway, navigate to the resource And method for your GET request, use the method settings, go to the integration request section, mapping template, add a mapping template that gets static payload for your Lambda function. Since your Lambda function expects a string input, you can create a JSON object with a property containing the desired. Yeah, we already did this and it didn't work. Deploy the API. After configuring the integration request, deploy your API, make the changes live. So that is what we did and it didn't work. So let's build again. New API, X API gateway, or maybe JBX API gateway, then create the API, then create the resource. Our resource would be tester. Then our tester, let's create a method. It should be a get request, and then the ARN is the ARN of our Lambda function ARN. Okay, provide the Lambda function name or alias. You can also provide ARN from another account. What? So alias. So we haven't. Okay, so maybe. So let's try this first. Let's put the ARN of the Lambda here, and let's create it. And we're gonna try alias later. So in the integration, let's update the mapping. Let's map this to something like this. Hello XXX. Let's create that. Nope. Um, how about here like this? Input hello. Nope. Still cannot. How about empty? It's not empty. What is models? How about message request pass through? Context for each has what's this parameter? Body JSON. How about putting an input here then? Hello world. Alright, so I'm getting invalid path. I'm getting okay, update big gateway. You're trying to add a request template to a specific method. The path should follow. Okay, let's try this. Your API ID. So what is my API ID here? REST API ID. Is this the REST API ID? the resource ID, the resource tester, resource ID. Yeah, so this is the resource ID. How about the API? API. This is the resource ID. What? Resource ID. Okay, so we might want to delete this. Delete. And then from here, we can add the method. So get request, and then ARN is this ARN. And then input hello world. Yep, still getting that. Okay, so let's try to run this. An error occurred when calling the update integration invite request identifier specified. Valid resource identifier specified. Okay, so it updated that. What did it? What HTTP method? Why was it an HTTP method? Request template. Okay, so if we go back here, go to this one, method. What did it add? Integration. Go so mapping. So hello world. Let's check again. Windows no matches template. Path parameter. Request header. Mapping. So nope. Deploy. New stage. Stage name is test. Deploy. And so was it deployed? So in the stage action. So the resource is this one. Deploy. We deploy that to stage. Deploy. In our stage, this is the invoke URL. Test stage. See, it cannot convert it to string. So let's go back to our resource, go here, integration, edit. Then let's change this to hello world. save, and then deploy. Okay. See here, it. See, it responded. It responded with hello world. So if we change the integration here to the mapping to the best of the best, save that, go to test, the best of the best. It invoked our Lambda successfully. So we deploy that to test, and then this invoke URL was this this should be a post, right? This is a get. Okay, so this one here. See, it's hello world. So if we deploy this again, deploy to test, refresh this. Oops, why is it not best of the best? Go to this one, go to get, integration, edit, mapping. This is already best of the best. Deploy, stage, to the stage, get, so in here, yeah, best of the best. Okay, so again, we want to update our Lambda. So if we put our Lambda here, change this to version 3. Yeah, we just change it to version 3, and then let's add something here is cool, something like that. And then we follow the steps that we have here. Yeah, so let's publish this to 3, like that. And let's put it here. Paste, publish. So now we want to zip this to 3, and then 3 here. Okay, zip. So that will have now 3, zip, release 3, then update the function, our Lambda function to use this. So it will now be updated. Our Lambda will now have an updated version now, and we haven't published it yet. So let's publish this version 3. This is version for version 3. Publish that thing, and then so we have it here already. Publish version 3. So if we refresh this, oh, it automatically get the latest version of our Lambda. So what if we are going to create a variable like a prod stage in our API gateway. So a resource. Let's create a test for prod. So this is going to be the prod stage. Refresh this. I think we lost our. Okay. Okay. Go to stage. Create a stage. What? Stage. Create a stage. All this prod stage. Um, what is this? Deployment stages. Okay, so deploy new stage. Stage is prod. So we now have prod and test. So in our prod, what is this? Test. Okay, so in our prod, go to the prod, forbidden. Let's go to the prod and go to the get request. This one. Oh, why is it forbidden? But this one is not forbidden, right? This one is forbidden. And why is the this forbidden? And this is not forbidden. Is this forbidden? Nope, that is not forbidden. For prod, is this forbidden? Yeah, this is prod, so it's already okay. So we now have two stage variables, stages, API gateway stages, and we want to update our test environment. So we want to update this to um, version 4. So version 4, let's just update this in test stage, but we are not gonna deploy it in prod stage. Prod, yeah. So let's create this one here. Let's go to our steps here. We're going to release version 4 or release 4. Release it. And then here we're gonna zip it, and then we're gonna update our Lambda function to version 4. Okay, so if we go to our test stage, is it going to get the version 4? Yeah, it gets the version 4. And in our prod, this is also going to get the version 4. So we don't want that. So we only want the test environment to get the one that is in supposed to be the prod should supposed to be using only version 3. So how can we do it? Let's go back to stages, prod. Yeah, how do we update this? Edit, and firewall, stage, prod, throttling, log tracing, deployment history, stage variables. So we have stages and we have stage variables. So what are the stage variables? Manage stage variables in stage variables, stages, stage action, create a stage. Okay, so this is stage for prod. Let's create a stage variable, manage variable, stage variable. Um, JBX, what? Okay, so stage variables. What is that for? I don't know what that is for. How can we delete that? Remove, save. Okay, so next is, yeah, how do we do that? Update documentation. Um, API gateway, this one. Let's, how do we edit this? This one, the, okay, so the integration, we want to edit this so that it will just use an alias. So, okay, so let's use alias here. Alias, so create an alias. So we are going to create a test alias. This is going to use version 3. Okay, and we haven't no, we haven't deployed version 4. I think this one here is, so version 4, v4. Publish alias, go to aliases, create a new alias. This is a prod alias. This is using version 3, and then the other alias, the test, we want to use version how do we update this? This one will be always use the latest. So test alias is always going to use the latest, prod is going to use version 3. So how do we do that here? So this is the test alias, so we want to put that here, test alias, save, so, and then deploy it to test. And for prod, edit the prod, go to resources, so on, integration. This one will be using the prod. So this is the prod, this is its ARN. So it's now going to use the prod. Save it, deploy, put it to prod. Okay, so we have a resource, we updated it, we put it to what stage of what we updated here, and then yeah, for stage test, we update the resource so that it will get the test ARN alias, the test alias of the function, and for the prod, then we publish it to stage variable to stage test. And for prod, we updated the resource to point to the prod alias, and then we deploy it to its stage. So if you go back here, let's invoke this. This should have version 4, and then this one here should still have version 3. The prod will still have version 3. Yeah, so that worked. So version 3, and this one, the test is version 4. Prod is version 3, and now if we want to promote version, if we want to promote uh, uh, the version 4 to prod, we just go to alias, and let's go to prod here. No, how do we do that? uh, Edit, then use version. This is prod, right? So this one will use version 4. So once we updated that to version 4, our prod here should now have version 4. Cool. Okay, so if we go to our Lambda and update this to version 5, then we are then going to publish it, publish to version 5, and then we're gonna zip it. Zip it good. Okay, then um, let's update. Let's update this one here. Version 5. Let's update our function. So now our latest code should have version 5, but we haven't published it. Our alias for our alias, this one will always use the latest. So if we go here, the test here should have version 5. See, version 5, but this one here will still be version 4. Yeah, okay. And we will not promote our version 5 to prod. Instead, we are going to skip the release to prod and then put this to version 6. And then we will then update our code. Let's publish this to 6. Let's just do this as one command. Maybe it's better. Put this in one command. Six. This one here should be 6. Oops, this one here is 6. This one is 6. And then this one, this update here. 6. Okay, so let's paste this. Okay, so it now has version 6. So if we refresh this, our test environment here, test stage, it's version 6, and this one will still be version 4. Okay, and then if we want to promote our version, this one here, our prod, we want to promote to version, oh, we haven't published. So so when we are testing this, oh, version 6 is already working, we want to publish this. So we go to our Lambda, go to versions, And we're going to publish a new version. This is version 6. So this one here is no it. So even if we publish it to version 6, this will still be version 5. Oh, okay, version 5, but it will still be version 6. If we go to Alias, if we want to edit this, use version 5 here, but actually this is version 6. Wish that, and our prod now will have version 6 here. Yeah, see, version 6 in prod, and our test here is also version 6. Yeah, okay, so that's it. A very confusing workflow, but yeah, we'll just need to master this to con people with money. All right, okay, so thanks, bye.